chickens are out today. That's good. They tend to hide away in their chicken run when the wind's going to be really bad. Oh, it's blowing a bit now, but we'll see what happens. This crazy weather's got to end sometime, and I've been hearing from lots of you guys that the weather's extremely crazy in your part of the world, and that is lots of parts of the world at the moment. In this video, we're going to do a 5-card spread from the Celtic Tarot, which is this one. It's a fairly new deck on me. I think it's been out for a while, but someone gave it to me for Christmas, and I've been loving reading with it. It's a great deck, so we'll use that today. And I'm going to do a 5-card spread on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and that's been an issue for a couple of weeks now, I know, but people are still talking about it, and new things are constantly coming to light. It's obviously going to make big changes for us here in Britain. But first, before I go into that, I want to welcome all the new subscribers. Many people have subscribed since I was on the remote view with Celtic Tarot, Sheila and Dr. Whimsy last night. And, you know, I'm really grateful that you guys have come over and watched the videos, and I'm delighted that you're enjoying them. Great to meet all of you, absolutely great to meet you all. And what fun we had, actually. I really enjoyed myself on that show last night. Strange for me to be reading about American topics, but I think that actually, probably at least, is going to mean that the readings are that bit more accurate, because I'm not really invested in it, you know. I'm a strong believer in truth, and I'm a strong believer in fair play, but the names that were coming up with people I don't really know, or at least I don't know, you know, the immediate history of what they've been through, or what that would mean to an actual American citizen, you know. And that I think gave me a reasonably fresh take on things. I hope it did anyway. But anyway, welcome all of you. Thanks for all the lovely messages you've sent. And just a heads up, I go live on my channel twice a week, 10 p.m. UK time on Sundays. That's 4 p.m. Central USA. And 9:30 p.m. on Wednesdays, which is 3:30 p.m. Central USA. And then I get a chance to actually pull cards for people, try and answer questions for you, that kind of thing. So if you can make it to one of the lives, absolutely brilliant. I'd love to have you there. So what about Harry and Meghan? Well, they're extremely wealthy people, and in a lot of ways I'm not too worried about them. In fact, in most ways I'm not too worried about them. Like a lot of us, I was shocked to hear that their little boy Archie isn't going to get royal protection. But that really just means that the protection isn't going to be paid for by the British taxpayer, or really, you know, by the royal family, whose money it ultimately is. But, you know, that doesn't mean to say he's going to actually go unprotected. Certainly as a family issue, that is quite a bombshell and would have been quite devastating. And I can understand why Harry was devastated to find that out, actually, because it's a real snub. It really is. But I don't know exactly how much Prince Harry is worth, but it's plenty. He's going to be okay, and I'm sure he will actually see that Archie, or maybe Prince Archie as he should have been, I'm sure he'll see that Archie is actually protected. The other thing that really jumped out at me, you know, and I think none of us could fail to be moved by what Meghan said about thinking about ending her life. That's something that quite a lot of people go through, of course. It's a terrible thing when life seems to mean nothing. There is actually always a reason for going on, no matter how bad things get. Things can't get better if you actually end your life. That's the truth. But no matter how much money you've got, no matter what the situation or whatever the circumstances are, when someone is seriously thinking about bringing their life to an end, that is extremely bad news. It shouldn't really happen to anyone, I don't think, in the modern world today. You could almost say there isn't enough kindness about, and actually there is enough kindness about, but the way the world is these days, we tend to want to kind of be hard and be strong and keep a lot of it to ourselves. And it's not that often that it's terribly easy to actually go ahead and show somebody the love that they actually need at the time. And certainly in the royal family, there's a history of this. If you've ever looked at the whole situation over Princess Diana and what happened there, you'll see that history, as Harry said a couple of times actually, history seems to be threatening, at least, to repeat itself. And Princess Diana was 18 years old, around, I think I was about 17. It was about the same age anyway, when she actually met Prince Charles and the whole thing started up. And I watched the fairy tale wedding, and it seemed really amazing thing to me that the royal family were actually allowing a future king to marry someone who wasn't already in, some kind of royal bloodline somewhere. They said she was a commoner. Not strictly true. She's from a very well-to-do, very aristocratic family, the Spencers, and they are actually, they're still going. They're one of the few British aristocratic families who've still got a mansion and who've still got I wouldn't like to say too much wealth, they've got plenty of wealth, they really have, but when you're trying to maintain a mansion and all the stuff that goes with that status, that in itself gets to be very expensive. So I'm sure they're all right for money, but I don't know if they've got enough money to keep on going on the way they are. But they've survived really, really strongly and really favourably compared to other British aristocratic families. I'm struggling to remember the words for this today. It was a good late night last night, that's the thing. And I did enjoy meeting everyone though, and I had a great time. I really did. It's just left me a bit, what day is it today, But yeah, the Spencers and Diana really went through a lot of terrible problems. But in itself, when you look back on it, it was a turning point for the royal family. She did actually become incredibly depressed. And I don't know if Charles's reaction was because he didn't care or whether it was because he couldn't be seen to care, which would seem to be the more likely thing to me, the way I see it myself. In that position, there are certain things that you can admit to and certain things you can't admit to. And Charles has very often been seen as weak because of things like he believes in the environment. And that's crazy because most of us believe that the environment is actually important. But he's always been called crazy. He's always been regarded as a bit of a psycho because of that. And that's not good. And it all goes back to his childhood and crazy things that happened. And I guess he's got a bit of a sort of, chip on his shoulder, as we say in UK. I don't know if that, but, just someone who's got a thing that they get angry about or paranoid about. And it's not just him. His father, Prince Philip, who is now the Duke of Edinburgh, married to the Queen. And he's 99 years old now. They're really getting on, him and the Queen. He is actually Greek. And so when he married the Queen, that he got a lot of ribbing. He got a lot of people teasing him because he's not, strictly speaking, a British person. I don't know how that could be, really, because the Queen's whole line of family are the Saxe-Coburgs. They're not actually a British family either. They're essentially German. And so that's really crazy. But the Queen and the Queen's family having established that, everyone's going to say we're British and that's where it's at, we're Brits. Then, Philip comes in and he's a Greek, and it was made difficult for him. It wasn't made easy for him, and there again, very rich family, but I did feel a bit sorry for him over that whole thing. I really did. But that has left him with a chip on his shoulder, something that he gets a bit paranoid about. And he took that out on Charles, and Charles, don't know who Charles is taking things out on, or if he's taking things out on people at all. Hopefully he's learned some of the lessons as he's gone along. But very, very, very frosty, from what Harry was saying. It sounds like he's a very frosty kind of character when things aren't going in a direction that he, as he would see it as the future king, is actually going to be allowed to take part in the situation, I suppose. So a tricky situation all round for them, and again, I'm not gushing buckets of sympathy for any of them because they are so wealthy. They're just not going to have a bad time. They could never ever understand what it's like for so many of us, probably most of us watching, to wonder if am I still going to have a job next week? What happens if the house falls down? What happens if the car breaks down and I can't get on with my life? The money is the cushion there, and it's not the be-all and end-all, not at all. And especially when we heard Meghan thinking about ending her life, then, obviously, yeah, that is very serious, and something has got in at a very deep level into her heart and her soul and her psyche. But quite honestly, I'm not too surprised that the royal family has gone the way it's gone. I'm not too surprised that questions were asked as to what would be the colour of her children's skin. It is actually insane because when you look at Meghan, she's like so nearly white. I wouldn't have known that she wasn't white. I don't know where it comes from, but she just doesn't look anything other than white to me. But that's the nitpicky nature of the way the royal family is run and the way that all of these things are run. The last generation, Charles and Princess Anne, Prince Andrew that we've been hearing about, and also Prince Edward, who we hear less about, but, he's right in the mix there. They were all kind of trying to turn the tide, really, and take things back to the older ways and try and keep the royal family as the traditional body of people that it's always been, and try and keep to all the traditions and the way they were actually supposed to be. But it just, it hasn't worked out. All that scandal with Prince Andrew, I think if you've seen anything at all of his interviews and what's been said about him, he is just... He obviously thought he could do all that stuff and just block it out and it just wouldn't go anywhere. And quite honestly, at the moment, and I'm fairly disgusted about this, at the moment I can't, it's not in the news. I think they're hoping that it'll all go quiet. And I really hope that Prince Andrew has to actually stand up and explain himself and face the consequences of what he did. I really do. But that's why that generation were trying to keep things the old way, because in the old way, they could get away with absolutely anything, and no government in the world was going to try and assail them, was going to try and pull them down from their perch or make them actually answer for what things they may or may not have done. Not a healthy thing, and when Charles and Princess Diana split up, that was epoch-making, First it was really odd that he married someone who wasn't in a royal bloodline from somewhere in the world. And even odder that he was actually allowed to divorce her, because it's said that he'll be king one day. I wonder about that. I'm not sure he will be, actually, but essentially he's the next in line to the throne. And so... very powerful figure of authority in that way. But the whole thing is still run not so much by the Queen, but by the royal entourage, all the people that kind of make the royal family be what they are. They don't get too much choice in it. So I was really surprised that he was allowed to divorce Diana. Even more surprised that he was then allowed to marry Camilla Parker Bowles, who got divorced so she could marry him. Big changes, that's what I'm talking about. Big changes. And so in a way, the whole situation is getting a bit more real. Reality is taking hold of the British royal family. And never more so, than when Oprah Winfrey got involved. And I watched that whole thing. And I wasn't too surprised at what was said because of what had been in the news. But if I'd watched that Oprah Winfrey interview kind of 20 years ago, it would have absolutely blown my mind, because in those days it was impossible to think that anything like the exposure that happened in that interview would ever be allowed to happen. So that's where I am with it. I do have great sympathy for them, actually. It must be, it doesn't matter how much money you've got. If you feel cut off from your family, and I guess they were pretty shocked by the whole thing as well, then... it's just not nice. It's going to eat away at your self-esteem. It's going to eat away at your sense of self-worth. And I'm very happy to say that it looked to me as if both Harry and Meghan weren't actually going to let it get to their feelings of self-worth anymore, and they've made the break and they seem much happier where they are now. Okay, so let's do some cards about this. Okay, I'm going to do a 5-card tarot spread now. I usually say pick a card or pick all 5, and you can if you want, okay? Pick one for yourself, or maybe pick several, or pick all 5 of them for yourself, and just see what that says about you and your day-to-day. But I'm going to do my main intention, shall we say then, of doing this spread is just what's going on, really, with the whole British monarchy, the whole institution, not just Harry and Meghan, but the whole kind of sorry shooting match of what's been going on and where it's actually going to lead. Because as a Brit, I'm fascinated to know. I'm no royalist, as I'm sure you've gathered from what I've said today. But, for example, you know, the Queen is really very elderly now, and, you know, it can't be too long before she reaches the end of her time on Earth. And even though I'm not a royalist, it's going to be so weird not to have Queen Elizabeth II as the head of state. You know, she's been there. I was born like kind of 11 years after she was crowned. And so she's always been a part of my life that way. But there we go. I've had a shuffle. Cosmic Tarot here. Let's put these ones down and let's take off the top 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And see what we get. So I'm going to hold them up for you guys to have a look at. See what you think. Okay, you're going to pick card 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. Hey, what's going to be your card of the day? Or are you going to pick more of them? Let me know in the comments, guys, how you like to go with these readings, okay? Because I'm here on YouTube as your tarot reader. That's what it's all about. You know, I'm reading for you guys. Okay. So card number 1, this one. Let's see what we've got. Hang on, no, that's card number 5. What am I saying? Sorry about that. Card number 1, this one. What's it going to be? Let's turn it round. 2 of Cups, and it is the right way up. A great deal of love shows through in this card. It's water sign energy. It's for Cancer, it's Scorpio, and it's Pisces in terms of the energy. So the situation is fluid, I guess, because we've got a water sign card up front, but it is actually all about true love, genuine love, and that has so often affected the nature of the royal family, and it shows the power of love, actually, in a very big way, doesn't it? Because they're all in really deeply fixed and deeply entrenched positions as royals. There's not much they can do to break away from it, but love has prevailed so many times. If we go back to King Henry VIII, all of that craziness that he went on with having 6 wives, and he disestablished the Catholic Church, set up his own church, and to this day in Britain, by the way, if you're a bishop in the Church of England, the Protestant Church of England, you can actually sit in the House of Lords and be a politician and have an effect on the laws, actually veto things you don't like. To this very day, right the way from the time of King Henry VIII. And some of that was because he needed to be the big man and he needed to produce a son and heir, but a lot of it was the feelings of love he had for the women involved as well. So that made big changes, kind of in the wrong direction, but you couldn't really knock a king out of place in those days. If we go back to Edward VIII, earlier in the 20th century, he fell in love with an American divorcee, and because she was a divorcee, it was said that there was no way that he could still be king and marry her, so he abdicated, he resigned, he gave up the throne, and he went to live in the States. Now, I've got limited sympathy for him because he was a great Nazi supporter. There is footage existing to this day of him meeting with Nazi generals and even being on parade with the Nazis at the time of the build-up, shall we say, the build-up to the Second World War. So I am absolutely no fan of his at all. What I'm saying is I am a big fan of love and what love does in people's lives. And it was because of love that he actually abdicated. And since he was a Nazi, I think that's probably the best thing that could have happened. Okay, that leaves us 4 cards. Let's take card number 2. And what have we got here? We've got the Hanged Man. Okay, so we've seen with the Two of Cups that love is going to be the guiding light, you know, the ruling sort of passion of what actually ends up happening with the British royals. But it's not going to happen immediately because now we've got the Hanged Man. There's a definite need for surrender when the Hanged Man comes in. That is just about the strongest meaning of this. The Hanged Man is not able to make progress because he actually needs to surrender to the energy of the moment, to actually go with the flow of what's happening in his life. And if we see this as a symbol for the royal family, well, they are going to have to give in, quite honestly, because the rest of us that pay our taxes to keep them all kind of safe and happy and doing what they do, and the people all over the world who support them and see them as great leaders, that the royal family would be nothing without the rest of us. And now we know, we've been shown it many times throughout history, but this time it's been on the Oprah show, this time it's been in all the British papers and on TV. I'm sure you've heard of Piers Morgan now, who walked out of the TV interview and in fact walked out of his job over this whole situation. So it's very, very public. There's no escape from it, but they're hanging on. They're not willing to go one way or the other just yet. They're going to have to surrender to it in the end, though. And, you know, if they surrender to it, they might actually be able to keep going as a royal family. I'm sure that would actually be the outcome that they're looking for. I'm sure that's what they would actually want to happen. But I don't see any sign of anyone giving in just yet. Very, very hard for them to get out of this one, particularly the racist side of it, you know. The rest of the world moved on from racism a very long time ago, and there are pockets of racists all over the world, I know it, but it's an absolutely insane thing. I'm sure of it. I was in the British forces, I was in the Air Force, and that was a melting pot of all different people from all different parts of the world who had British nationality were able to join the British forces. And it didn't really matter to me if someone was black or, you know, what Maltese. There was a Maltese guy. It didn't matter to me where someone came from, because if they got into the Air Force, they'd gone through the same boot camp I'd gone through, and they'd been checked out very thoroughly by the Ministry of Defence before they joined up. And so if they were wearing the same uniform as me, I knew I could trust them. I would call them a friend, and, you know, I would trust them with my life if it came to it, because we'd all been picked out for having those qualities before we ever joined up. The day I left home and actually joined the Air Force, the night before, my father, a white guy, was in charge of my whole life and always had been. The day after, or the night after I arrived at basic training, the RAF officer took on that role that my father had had, and he was a Nigerian guy, and he was absolutely fine. And I just, you know, it's just mad to me that racism is what it is. Why on earth people can't actually see that, you know, it's like it's a different skin colour, that's all it is different, you know. It's not even cultural half the time, you know. We share the same kind of lives a lot of the time. So that racism thing has especially got to come to an end, because it is coming to an end, you know. Future generations, at some beautiful day, very few racists are going to be left. They're going to be so isolated that it's just not going to matter anymore. Reparations are being made, what have you. So that's the Hanged Man, you know. Surrender is inevitable. They're going to have to do it one day, but they're hanging on tightly. They don't want to do it yet. Card number 3, and this one is the King of Swords, and this is air sign energy. This is Gemini, Libra, Aquarius inherent in the message of this card. In fact, he's wearing a Libra badge. So this is all about balance, and it's also a king. It's a royal card, so very close to what we're talking about here. And this is card number 3 of 5, so this is absolutely the heart of the matter. Here he stands with his sword in the air. He's got a wise old owl standing in front of him as a symbol of wisdom, and he's just not going to take any nonsense, you know. The King of Swords is the kind of energy which it leaves people exposed in a big way, certainly, but it's very directive, very powerful, very masculine kind of thrusting energy there. And male supremacy as well as white supremacy is definitely a big thing with the British monarchy. We've got a queen at the moment, but they always like to have a king if they can, for some reason, to do with very, very old-fashioned beliefs. That's what they want to have. But this isn't talking about the king, you know, of England anyway. This is the actual energy of what's going on with them all at the moment. They're going to have no choice because this energy is the king. They're going to have to go with the flow on this, and that's why the Hanged Man is hanging on so tightly in card number 2, I'm sure. But the wise thing, you know, it's a wise course of action to actually allow change to come in, to actually allow things to be transformed, because they're going to be transformed anyway. You know, they might as well just go with the flow of it. They really might. So that's the heart of the matter. The King of Swords, it's all going to be exposed, you know. More and more is to come. We're going to find out more about this. I'm going to be shocked by some of it. I've been shocked by quite a lot of it already. Just living in Britain doesn't give you any kind of special access or privileged knowledge about the royals. You just get to send them your tax money. Simple as that. Okay, so what is card number 4? Here is card number 4. Did you pick card number 4, by the way, friends? Tell me what cards you picked for yourself. I'm always interested to know that. Drop me a comment down there, please do. Card number 4, the Lovers. Okay, we started off with the 2 of Cups with a very, very similar message to this one. Now it's more intense, it's major arcana, and it's kind of the immediate future of what's going on. So I would see this as Harry and Meghan themselves, actually. They are going to be prevailing. They are going to be getting to make the difference they want, make the change they want. And this tells me that the royals are actually going to have to listen to them rather than just shut them out, which seems to be what's going on at the moment. I'm sure that Prince William, actually, as Sheila said in the remote view last night, being Harry's... sorry, it wasn't, it was Whimsy who said it. Prince William is bound to have friendly conversations, up to a point at least, with Prince Harry, because their mother was Princess Diana, who was hounded to death by the British press because of just the kind of issues that are going on at the moment. So I'm sure they'll talk to each other, and I'm sure the strength of Harry and Meghan's relationship is going to really be good for them, is going to sustain them long into the future. I'm sure that all this has brought them closer, if anything. And it's also going to be affecting the outcome from the way the royal family go, because, you know, William and Kate, they love each other in a big way. There's no doubt about it. No, I've got no doubt about that. I mean, I don't know them. I don't know what's going on in their lives. The whole thing is kept private and hidden from us. But again, you know, Kate is rather like Princess Diana. She isn't from any royal bloodline, and the marriage did go ahead. And, you know, she is going to be a very, very senior royal. Well, she is already, I suppose, but she's going to be just about the most senior royal in the future. So, love. Card number 4, the Lovers. And love is really what it's all about. And let's face it, like the song said, love is all you need. So what is the outcome? What is the outcome for the royal family and what's going to happen? And it's the Sun. This is card number 5, the Sun. And this really means that things are ready to happen. This is a very positive card indeed. And this suggests to me that the right changes are going to end up being made. The big question for me comes from card number, what was it? Card number 2, I think. Yeah, which is, let's just bring it out again. I've got them all here. Yeah, the Hanged Man, you know. Everyone involved in this at the senior level is trying to put off the inevitable, but the inevitable is actually going to happen. It's ready to happen now. The Sun, that's the card that says, you know, now's the time, things are right. Well, I wish now was the time, to be honest, for everyone concerned in this whole sorry situation, because I bet they're all going through hell, you know. It's no doubt Harry and Meghan are going through hell at the moment, and I have much less sympathy for the establishment of the royal family, because I think it's mostly their fault, actually. But at the same time, you know, they're not having a nice time with it. That's a fact. And that is always a great shame. That is always really unfortunate. But there is the reading on the royals. So, friends, do leave me a comment down there. It's great to share the journey with you guys, and it's great if I hear from you, because I don't know, I feel I know you that much better. And then when we get into the live readings, which you know, I think the Danny Shea from Bathrobe Tarot very kindly said that he thought that was the best the videos that I do. The live readings, I come on for about 90 minutes or so, and I pull cards for people who are in the chat. You can ask a question, and as the channel grows, I can't absolutely get to everyone every time, but I get to as many people as I can, and I actually answer your questions. And if you've left me a comment and if we've had a little conversation, then our spirit guides have got to know each other a bit, you know, so it makes whatever card I might pull for you on the live, it makes it that bit more deep and that bit more connected. So do leave me a comment. Please hit the subscribe button, which is also down below there, and the thumbs up. Both of those help the channel absolutely immensely. And again, big thanks to everyone who's subscribed, especially all the people who've subscribed since I was on Celtic Tarot Sheila's remote view last night with Whimsy. My subscriptions have gone right up, and it's great to meet you guys, it really is. But if you haven't subscribed yet, please do, because there's more videos coming absolutely all the time. If you'd like to buy me a coffee or buy the channel a coffee, please go along to my coffee page. The link is down there, ko-fi.com/Andy's Readings. You can have a look at some photos and pictures from around my house and see what's going on in my life there. I haven't updated that for a few days now because the weather has been absolutely mad, as I said at the beginning of the video, and it's just not a great time for taking pictures of anything, and there's not much to see because I can't change anything at the moment out there, you know, just because the weather's against it. That's life. But there we go, guys. Links to all good things down below there. There's my email address. If you are interested in having a private reading, please shoot me an email. We'll fix something up. It'll be great to do that. And in the meantime, be good to each other and have fun. And I'll see you again very soon in a future video. Love, light, blessings to you, and peace.